Well, Russia loves to be ahead of the game, though they are planning to get a drastic change. Well, the new director of the Russian space program announced on Tuesday that Russia will withdraw from the project to construct the International Space Station after the year 2024. However, no specific dates or plans were disclosed, and it was not immediately clear what, if anything, might change in the near term. Why is that? What exactly is going on in Russia's mind? We will get to know it all in the video, so welcome back to the future space, you all. Let's begin the video without further delay, but before we start, please hit that red bell icon to subscribe to the channel. The decision to leave the station after 2024 has been made. Yuri Borisov, who was nominated earlier this month to succeed Dmitri Rogozin as head of Roscosmos, the Russian space agency, said after a meeting with President Vladimir Putin. Borisov was appointed earlier this month. He went on to say that by that time, Russia will be prepared to launch the construction of an independent orbiting station. On the other hand, it was not entirely obvious what after 2024 could truly entail in terms of when a withdrawal may begin or when it could be finished. The administrator of NASA, William Nelson, stated that the organization is dedicated to the safe operation of the International Space Station into the year 2030 and is collaborating with our partners. NASA has not been made aware of any choices to withdraw from any of the partners, he added. However, we are continuing to create future capabilities to ensure that our substantial presence will be maintained in low Earth orbit. Even though no official notification has been received, the press secretary for the White House, Karine Jean-Pierre, has stated that we are examining methods to reduce the potential repercussions on the ISS beyond 2024 if Russia does withdraw. For our part, we are committed to working with other partners of the International Space Station to ensure the continued safety of the International Space Station and the astronauts who are stationed there. Before his unexpected resignation, Rogozin made many threats about withdrawing from the project in response to sanctions imposed by the West as a result of Russia's invasion on Ukraine. However, Putin did not encourage Rogozin's bellicose comments in any way that could be seen. Borisov's statements were made in the context of a meeting with Putin, which led historian and space policy analyst John Lochson to take them a bit more seriously. Lochson made this statement on Tuesday. "You don't do those things in a carefree manner, do you?" The United States Agency for Space Exploration and the Russian Federal Space Agency started construction on the ISS about 24 years ago, and since October 2000, the outpost has been continually occupied by alternating crews of astronauts and cosmonauts. After the fall of the Soviet Union and the conclusion of the Cold War, it is one of the most obvious examples of East-West cooperation that has emerged in the wake of these events. NASA and its other space station partners, the ESA, the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, and the Canadian Space Agency, plan to continue operating the lab until the year 2030. They plan to use it to conduct fundamental research, as well as test technologies and life support protocols that will be required for future journeys to the Moon and Mars. As recently as this year, Nelson told CBS News that this professional relationship between our astronauts and cosmonauts, it's consistent and it's going to stay. Nelson has consistently voiced his faith that Russia will agree to continue the program. The agreement between NASA and Russia to restart sending people into space aboard the Russian Soyuz spacecraft and cosmonauts aboard SpaceX Crew Dragon capsules will be finalized on July 15. The new launch schedule will begin in September. The goal is to make sure that there is always at least one Russian and one American on board the station to operate their respective systems, even if an emergency forces the US or Russian vehicle to leave early with all of its crew members. This will ensure that the station is always operational. This agreement will remain in effect until the 30th of June in 2025. The ISS program manager for NASA at the Johnson Space Center in Houston, Joel Montalbano, stated that from a purely technical perspective, the ISS can securely fly until 2030 or even longer. He stated that the teams were looking into it and that we would be prepared to go to 2030. And if somebody asks us to go a little longer, I'm going to put a grin on your face and say that we can go to that. She continued, and if we are going to do it, I'm going to do it with you. The ISS is one of the most difficult engineering projects that has ever been attempted. It is composed of two principal components, the first of which is controlled by NASA and the second of which is handled by Roscosmos. The United States segment, also known as the US segment, is comprised of 10 pressurized modules that were constructed by NASA, ESA, and JAXA, in addition to a sophisticated robot arm that was provided by the Canadian Space Agency. The solar wings on the US segment are enormous and were supplied by NASA. Two of them are located on each end of a truss that is as long as a football field. Other features of the U.S. segment include intricate cooling systems, computer networks, high speed. In addition, the U.S. leg of the journey has 4 docking ports that are equipped to receive Northrop Grumman Cygnus cargo ships, Japanese HDV freighters, SpaceX Dragon crew and cargo ships, and Boeing Starliner personnel ferry vehicles. Roscosmos is in charge of running the pressurized compartments that make up the station's rear segment, which consists of 6 individual rooms. One of these, which goes by the name Zarya, is the link that joins the American and Russian halves. NASA footed the bill for its construction, but Russia is in charge of operations. There are now 4 docking ports in Russia that are being utilized by Progress cargo ships as well as Soyuz crew ferry vehicles. NASA is in charge of providing the majority of the station's electrical power, satellite communications, and the day-to-day stability that is given by 4 enormous gyroscopes. Russia is in charge of providing the propellant and thrusters that are required to keep the outpost in orbit. Because even at an altitude of 260 miles up in orbit, there is still a trace amount of atmosphere present. It is essential to periodically enhance the station's altitude. This minor atmospheric drag causes the laboratory's height to gradually but inexorably decrease as it travels through the atoms and molecules at a speed of 17,000 miles per hour, which is equivalent to more than 80 football fields every second. The required propellant is delivered to the station by Russia using an unpiloted cargo spacecraft called Progress. These ships can either use their thrusters to transfer propellants to tanks on board the station so that they can be used by the station's thrusters. Control moment gyros, often known as CMGs, are utilized by NASA to reorient the space station as required without the utilization of thrusters, which helps save propellants. Although this will cut down on the quantity of fuel required, it will not deliver any additional boost. If the Russian rockets weren't fired at regular intervals, the space lab would gradually fall to Earth and it would eventually re-enter the lower atmosphere and disintegrate. In addition to maintaining the station's position in space, it was anticipated that the Russians would be responsible for providing the necessary propulsion and control to remove the station from orbit over an area of the South Pacific Ocean that lacked any human or animal inhabitants. This was done to mitigate the risk of injury or damage to property caused by any debris that survive re-entry into the atmosphere. Even though NASA just recently conducted a test of its reboost capability using a Northrop Grumman Cygnus cargo ship, the space agency cannot yet provide all of the necessary propellants and thrusting if Russia withdraws from the International Space Station. One possibility is that NASA might pay Russia for reboost flights, similar to how it paid Russia for post-shuttle seats aboard Russia's Soyuz spacecraft. This would be an option. The other possibility, and I think it's not very probable, is that it forces a decision to abandon the station earlier by NASA and its partners, Larsen said, adding that this would free up money that could be diverted to the agency's Artemis Moon program. The other possibility, and I think it's not very probable, is that it forces a decision to abandon the station earlier by NASA and its partners, Larsen said. Although Nelson has voiced his optimism that Russia will continue to sponsor the station until 2030, he has also stated that NASA will devise a plan to maintain the station operational if the Russians withdraw their support. If they give up the space station, then what? In March, Nelson gave an interview to CBS News in which he said that the situation would be resolved. "We are certain that we will be able to keep going for the foreseeable future. We would need to engage in additional activities, and appropriate contingency measures are already in place, but that is not something that we are planning for." Thanks for watching the video. Please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. We hope to see you in the next video. Please like, share, and subscribe. And until then, take care.